Two college students were exploring an underwater cave, but after getting lost, both of them paid with their lives. The tragedy ultimately led to the cave being permanently sealed off. 40 years later, the barricade was pried open once again. No one expected that another disaster was about to unfold. Not long after the dive began, an experienced diver suddenly started behaving strangely. First, he accidentally tore his teammate's wetsuit. Then, he ripped off the other diver's fin. A series of bizarre actions pushed both men toward the brink of death. And this is the story of the fatal cave diving incident at Santa Rosa Blue Hole. Santa Rosa Blue Hole is located in the small town of Santa Rosa, about 183 kilometers east of Albuquerque. From satellite maps, it looks like nothing more than a small circular pond, but its intensely clear blue water reveals that it is far from an ordinary pond. The surface of the blue hole measures about 24 meters in diameter, with a depth of roughly 26 meters. Its overall shape resembles a funnel. Thanks to the massive underground aquifer deep below, the water inside the cave is completely refreshed every 6 hours, allowing it to remain crystal clear at all times. But what few people realize is that, on the right side of the cave floor, lies a narrow hidden entrance. After descending through a vertical passage about 4.6 meters long, divers enter a complex maze-like cave system. According to survey data from the 1970s, the deepest known point of the cave at the time reached approximately 59 meters. Within these twisting underwater passages were two extremely tight restriction points where divers could easily become trapped while passing through. Today, this entire cave system has been permanently sealed shut, and the reason for its closure dates back to 1976. On March 10, 1976, a diving team from Oklahoma arrived at Santa Rosa Blue Hole under the guidance of an instructor to conduct open water dive training. At 10:30 a.m., after everyone geared up and prepared to enter the water, the instructor gave a serious warning. Never stay at the bottom for too long, and under no circumstances should anyone enter the narrow opening on the right side of the cave floor. But two students, Mike and David, became unusually excited after hearing this. The moment they entered the water, they broke away from the group and swam downward. Before long, they reached the forbidden entrance the instructor had warned them about. After exchanging hand signals, the two divers entered the vertical passage one after another. Once through it, they found themselves inside a relatively spacious tunnel corridor. Several branching passageways appeared on both sides, seeming to stretch endlessly into the darkness below. But as open water diving students, neither of them had any cave diving experience. They had not laid a guideline, nor did they understand how to avoid disturbing the layers of fine silt resting on the cave floor. Behind them, the water was gradually turning cloudy, as the current unknowingly stirred up the sediment. By the time the two decided to turn back, they realized they could no longer identify the way out. Inside the swirling cloud of silt, they completely lost their sense of direction. Panic quickly took hold. Their breathing became rapid, and their air supply began draining at an alarming rate. But their frantic movements only made visibility even worse. The two repeatedly crashed into the cave walls, until, at some point, their tanks finally ran out of air. Meanwhile, after returning to the surface, the instructor quickly realized the two students were missing, and immediately called the police for help. At 11:35 a.m., state police arrived at the scene. The initial search that day confirmed that neither victim was inside the main cavern. On March 12th, rescue divers entered the narrow tunnel at the bottom. After laying down a guideline, at 2:15 p.m., they discovered David's body inside the first chamber near the main corridor. But the search for Mike would take much longer. During the 11 dives that followed, one of the rescue divers, Jim, reached what was then considered the deepest explored section of the cave. According to his account, even using a flashlight with an intensity of 200,000 candela, he still could not see the bottom of the chamber. He concluded that Santa Rosa Blue Hole was an extremely deep cave system, and if Mike had truly entered that area, then, with the diving technology available at the time, there was almost no hope of recovering him. At the same time, air bubbles released by divers during the search caused rocks inside the cave to loosen, creating serious safety hazards. Repeated dives also made the water increasingly murky, forcing the rescue operation to be suspended. It was not until April 25th that the search resumed once again. This time, because the water was much clearer, the rescue team found Mike's body inside the second chamber. Although the location itself was not very far away, the maze-like tunnel system had turned the search into something like finding a needle in the ocean. To prevent another tragedy, New Mexico State Police sealed the cave entrance with metal grates and dumped large amounts of rock into the opening. For a very long time afterward, no more fatal accidents occurred inside the Blue Hole. But at the same time, modern divers could not help but wonder what exactly was hidden beyond that sealed entrance. 37 years later, a diving organization known as ADM received permission from the government of Santa Rosa to survey and explore Santa Rosa Blue Hole once again. But years earlier, Large amounts of rock had been dumped into the cave system. Not only had this sealed the entrance, it had also caused parts of the cave to collapse. As a result, the cleanup operation lasted for 3 full years. And as the debris inside the cave was gradually cleared away, in 2016, 10 members of the ADM team returned to Santa Rosa Blue Hole, with a plan to fully explore the cave system over the course of 3 days. The 2 divers assigned to the main penetration dive were veteran cave divers Mike Young and Sean Thompson. Both men had decades of cave diving experience. Sean had even previously served in the United States Navy, and was a well-known scuba instructor at the time. March 26th was the final day of the expedition, and the mission itself was relatively simple. While clearing remaining debris, they would also check whether any unexplored passages had been overlooked. According to the dive plan, Mike would carry out the deepest penetration dive, while Sean would remain near the second restriction point to provide support if needed. Soon afterward, Mike began descending alone. Because he had already spent 2 days working inside the cave, he quickly reached the deepest explored section at the time. While Mike began turning back, he suddenly realized that Sean, who was supposed to be waiting outside, was now trapped at the second restriction point, unable to move. Although Mike did not understand why Sean had followed him in, the panic in Sean's expression forced him to stay calm, so he tried to reassure him while adjusting his body position. After a tense struggle, he managed to help Sean break free safely. Mike then signaled for Sean to follow behind him on the return route. But because of the earlier struggle, the surrounding water had become heavily clouded with silt, reducing visibility to almost nothing. Fortunately, the guideline was still in place, and Mike, leading the way, remained relatively calm. But in the next moment, the line in his hand suddenly went slack. Sean, panicking underwater, had pulled too hard, causing the guideline to come loose. In this complex cave maze, both divers completely lost their sense of direction. Mike forced himself to stabilize his breathing, reminding himself that there was still enough time to find the way out. After a moment, he swam toward what he believed was the correct direction, and fortunately regained contact with the guideline. But just then, a frantic arm suddenly reached up from below. It was Sean, now completely overwhelmed by panic, swimming up toward him. Mike turned and grabbed his arm, trying to calm him down, but Sean was in full survival mode, completely out of control. He forced his way toward the line again, and in doing so, wedged both of them into the narrow passage. At that moment, their bodies were inverted, trapped head down in the tight restriction zone. Sean continued kicking wildly, his fins repeatedly striking Mike's face. In the chaos, he even kicked open a valve on Mike's diving suit. Cold water immediately rushed in, causing Mike to lose buoyancy and drop in temperature rapidly. After a frantic struggle, Sean finally broke free and quickly swam upward. Still shaken, Mike paused in place for a moment to regain his composure. He retrieved his fins, resecured the guideline in his hand, and felt a slight tension returning through the line. That pull reassured him. Sean must still be moving upward and was likely safe. But after swimming only a short distance, the tension in the line suddenly disappeared. Mike's heart sank. There was only one explanation for that. He quickly followed the guideline forward, and what he saw next stunned him. Sean was wedged motionless at the entrance to the third chamber. His breathing apparatus had been removed from his mouth. His backup tank was open. His wetsuit was torn in multiple places. It was clear that Sean had struggled desperately in his final moments, but had ultimately been unable to free himself. Given Mike's own deteriorating condition at that point, and the fact that a long decompression process would still be required to return to the surface, there was no possibility of attempting a recovery dive for the body. It was not until the following day that the team was able to bring Sean's body back to the surface. After the incident, a detailed analysis was conducted, and Sean's exact cause of death was finally reconstructed. Because both divers were using closed-circuit rebreathers, if the rate of carbon dioxide production exceeded the scrubber's absorption capacity, it would lead to hypercapnia, carbon dioxide poisoning. From the moment he first became trapped, Sean's rapid breathing likely caused him to feel an increasing sense of suffocation. He correctly switched to his emergency bailout gas supply, but panic not only caused him to drain the backup tank quickly, it also made him forget to switch back to the main system at the final critical moment. This ultimately led to drowning. Afterwards, law enforcement once again sealed the entrance to the cave, prohibiting any further access or attempts to reopen it.